Hi, friend. He was 61, recovering from open heart surgery, and instead of slowing down, he ran a half marathon just months later. Dr. Akil Taher didn't just change his diet, he changed his life. In this episode, he shares the exact lifestyle shifts that helped him reverse disease, reclaim his energy, and prove that it's never too late to start over. If you're tired of being told to accept decline with age, this one's for you. Like Dr. Tayer, I too reversed my heart disease by following a whole food plant based diet. If you're ready to add more plant based meals to your life, head over to my website, wellelephant.com, after the show to grab my free cookbook as my gift to you. And if you're really ready to reverse disease, check out my online class, Ace Plant Based Eating, while you're there. I made this class with you in mind. Thank you for being here. You mean the world to me. Now, let's go. Hi, friend. I'm Lauren Bernick, and I'm flipping the script about growing older. From rebels and rule breakers to wellness warriors and wise women, my guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing, and we're not even close to finished. Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother. Dr. Akil Taher, author of Open Heart, is a practicing physician based in Atlanta, Georgia. Raised in Mumbai, India, he trained in family medicine at Flower Hospital in Ohio. In 2009, at the age of 61, Dr. Taher underwent open heart surgery, a life-changing event that led him to radically transform his lifestyle. Following his surgery, he adopted a whole food, plant-based diet and embarked on an intense fitness regimen. His remarkable post-surgery journey includes running marathons, completing triathlons, and even climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Dr. Tahar shares his inspiring transformation from a sedentary lifestyle to becoming a septuagenarian athlete and a passionate advocate for heart health and plant-based living. Please welcome Dr. Tahar. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Everything is fine. I must thank you for that very generous introduction and thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. You were just sharing that you got some stings yesterday on your run. Were they hornets, did you say?
Wasp, you
Wasps.
know, so these were, as I was going in the woods, I usually do this early in the morning, and being a Sunday, it was pretty crowded, but I was on my own, and suddenly I stepped into something which was
Oh,
possibly the nest of this wasp, and I got bitten all over. So
oh
sadly, there
man.
was two ladies following me, and I feel terrible now because I could not help them because I was bitten. But I asked the people around there to help her and call 911 if need be. So
Yeah. I'm
that
sure
is
you
why,
felt really helpless, especially being a doctor and you were so beat up.
absolutely. The whole night I've been thinking, I hope that lady is okay. I hope that lady.
Mm. And we were just talking about how kind people are, like all the people who wanted to help and just believing that people are so good and kind.
Amazing, amazing. Everywhere I stopped and warned people, see, if you're going by the river, see that there is a wasp or a hornet's nest. I really don't know, but you will get bitten if you go on that path. And they were so appreciative. And then people say, "Do you need any help? Can we do
Mm.
anything for you?" So, I mean, basically, I think people are just good. It's the way the environment and things like this in daily life that some of them change, but inherently they're good people.
Can you tell me so you grew up in Mumbai. That's a big city. That used to be Bombay, right? That was
Correct.
referred to as Bombay.
Bombay.
Big city, it's on the coast or
A big city having a coastline, but not so much influenced by the West when I was growing up. Now there is a complete dichotomy of villages having their own things and the cities like any big sprawling city in the world.
but what was your life like? Did you live in a big apartment building or in a village?
No, my roots are uh, that my parents could not afford. We were rather, for having a better word, we were poor. So we could not afford things that the rest of the people around or middle class families or could afford. So I grew up in a family of about um, cousins and everybody around, and my brothers and my sister, and we were in just one room, and
Oh,
we had
wow.
to use one toilet that was there. Everybody had to take their turns, and so that was my life as I grew up, and. But I do remember a few things during that time that I joined the Scouts. I was very happy that that taught me a lot of things at that time, how to be self-reliant and, really face challenges in life. So that was a great thing. And our
Oh,
Scoutmaster also was, he had a company for tourism. When in India you have these hill stations, Shimla and Nainital, which are far cooler than Mumbai. So he needed people to help. So that was my first opportunity of going with this, because in India you don't get a chance. So I would go and we would all take people to Nainital and arrange for the food and the old days. It was fantastic. It was unbelievable.
how
Campfire.
old were you?
I must be in my 15, 16 years, or I did it up to 18, 19 years.
Mm,
It's not did it 18, 19 years till I was 18, 19.
right, right. And so what kind of like did your family eat healthy? Were they vegetarian?
I no, we were
No.
we were omnivores. We ate meat as well as vegetarian food. But being poor, we could not afford meat, eggs, and dairy on a regular basis. So that in some way has helped me because you could not afford it. So you had one vegetable, one lentil, this thing, and your rice. That was it.
Wow. And so at what age did you come to the United States?
Well, I came to the United States in my 40s, rather late. And I really had a lot of catching up to do to live this American dream. Prior to this, I was 11 years in the Middle East with the American University of Beirut.
Ah.
There
And
we
did you
started the first medical school along with my British and American counterparts.
so you were already a doctor in Mumbai?
Yes, yes,
Okay. And then you went to the Middle East and started the medical school. And then you were 40 and you came here. And then I guess you had to go back to medical school, right? To get a different license or.
yeah. What really happened was initially, let me explain to you that when I came over here, I had a lot of catching up to do. So what really happened was it had a downside to it, working, because I used to work long, long hours. But the downside was that I was not really paying attention to myself, family, or friends. And that got me in a kind of a problem because my eating habits by then, being in the Middle East, where you have all the shawarma and meats and tikkas, and uh, so that continued when I came to America because the hospitals in America, the doctors may say whatever they want to the patients, but they themselves are not eating healthy because at my time, especially, pork chops, fried chicken. So I consumed everything under the sun. Everything that moved, I ate.
Mm.
And I was called by my friends and my family that you're a seafood eater. You eat everything at sight. And so I did that without worrying about what effect it would have on my body.
Mm.
And you asked me a question, yeah, right, about You did say something which I missed when you were asking me.
I think I was asking about your medical training. Did you have to get like go back and get a different
Yes.
medical license to
Yeah.
practice in the US?
What happens is anybody who comes to the United States have to go through an examination to
Okay.
see that your the things that you have done. So you appear for that exam. That is number one. Number two is that you have to do residency again. Even though I had done the residency in the American University of Beirut, but here I had to do it again, and
How many years is that?
it's about 3 years for family practice. But I got a waiver of 1 year, so I was 2 years because of my past.
Okay. And so things are going on. You have a family. You have how many kids do you have?
I have two.
Two
I have
kids.
one son who is followed my footsteps. He is here in Atlanta as a hospitalist, and my daughter, who is attorney with the federal government, so she keeps both the brother and the father in check.
That's good. Okay, you must be a proud papa. That's good. So, um, at the age of 56, you found out you had heart disease. How did you know that you had heart disease? Do you
You
have
see,
symptoms?
a following of what I just told you about my coming at a late age and eating whatever I wanted to, I also was not exercising. I did not know the meaning of exercise. So I would be a couch potato, watching TV, only using my hand muscles to change the channels with the remote. And I, with that kind of, if I was not eating or, uh, working, I was just lying on the couch. And so, with all this, my family history isn't too good. Both my mother and my sister died at the age of 69 of heart disease. My
Mm.
brother had succumbed to a stroke at the age of 52.
Oh,
And
that's
so
young.
and what I realized is that I also had a Wolf Parkinson White syndrome. Sounds like a movie, horror
What's
movie,
that?
but it's not. It's a conduction defect in my heart. So it's an accessory pathway. There are pathways of conduction. So this can cause my heart rate to go rapidly very high. So that was what I had. And then lately, just last year, I found out that I had very, very high LP little a.
I have that as well.
Yes. And remember one thing, LP little a is a hidden threat.
Can you
Why?
tell people what that is if they don't know?
Yeah. See, LPA is just like your bad cholesterol, your LDL, but it has an extra protein, apolipoprotein A. This apolipoprotein A makes this cholesterol stickier, and it can more inflammatory, and so it can form plaques in your peripheral arteries, in your heart, and it can cause calcification in your aortic, your valve in your heart, causing aortic stenosis. And that aortic valve pushes blood out of the body to the different parts of your organs, even the brain. But once it is stenosed, then you can get back pressure and you can get heart failure.
Yeah.
And your chances of dying of a heart disease far increases if you've got LP little a and high cholesterol.
Yes. And that's I had that as well. And my research well, they're doing some experimental drugs now, right? But basically, this can't be changed through diet, exercise, medication. So that's my understanding. But now they're doing some research with drugs. But
Let me just point this out to the listeners that you have 2 or 3 drugs in the pipeline that are coming out, but they're in the final stage. But the point is that they we don't know if bringing down LP little a will translate into less heart attacks and strokes. Or once they
Right.
get that, then they will let the drugs be out. But having said that, there are two things that can lower your LP little a. Now,
What's that?
remember, LP little a also can be in people who are completely normal. Normal cholesterol, high blood pressure, no sugar, nothing. And they may go one day and die. Like sometimes you feel sports people, great health, dying. So that is the LP little a. And
And
LP,
it's genetic.
it's genetic, it's from your parents. And you have to get it tested once because that's all that there is. But having said that, there are two things now that can lower LP little a. One is the Repatha, the shots for lowering your cholesterol.
Rapatha?
Yeah,
Is that a drug?
it's an injectable drug
Okay.
that lowers your LP little a to about 30 to 35%. But FDA has not approved it.
Okay.
FDA has only approved this to lower your bad cholesterol.
So, but you could use it for off label just to lower your LP little a,
Yes.
Rapatha. Okay.
And number two is that a whole food plant-based diet can reduce it by 16%. If you're
Hmm.
strict on your whole food plant-based diet, it can reduce weight. So the advantages are you're not only losing weight with a whole food plant-based diet, and people think, oh, because you lost weight. No, it is your LP little a absolutely goes down. It happened in my case because my LP little a, as I told you, was 300 plus,
Yeah,
and,
mine was really high too.
and normal is 50.
Hmm.
If you go 50 and above, it is high. So that way, these two are the ones. Otherwise, you have to do apheresis. Is what you do is you take the blood out like your dialysis. Take the blood out, take out the LP, little a, and put the blood back in your body. It's a $50,000 treatment for a year.
Okay. Well, that's kind of
That's,
crazy.
that's the
But
important.
okay, so we're going to come back to talking about whole food plant based diet. But all right, so you knew you had something going on because what you were having angina, or do you say angina or angina? Some people say it different.
Yeah, it's angina. So with all the
Angina.
things that I talked about, I was not surprised that heart disease came knocking at a very young age, 56. And so I had two of my arteries blocked at 98 to 99%.
Oof.
One was that widowmaker. So now when you had 98, 99%, and we didn't know much, I mean, about LP little a or whatever, my cardiologist suggested I should get stents put in. So I went to get my stents put in, and because the plaques were so hard, they had to use a diamond tip drill to shave off the plaques. And in the process, I got a cardiac arrest. So
Oh
my heart
wow.
stopped. And then they had to shock me to revive my heart again. And I tell people that was my first uh, this thing with death, encounter with death. And so when I got up, I was all bruised, and my and surprisingly, he did a great job that he stopped it when my heart stopped and said, "Come again next day." So I went next day, and then he completed the whole procedure. But here is a bummer. He did such a fine job, young cardiologist. And 2 years after he did what to me and saved my life, he died of a massive heart attack
Oh wow.
on a
That's so
treadmill.
sad.
44 years old.
Wow. That's terrible.
People
That's
are
so
dying.
sad. Did you have like a near death experience, or did
I
you know you were
I don't
died?
recall. I didn't don't recall. All I recall was getting up in the morning and thought I was in some kind of a war because I was bruised all over, and so I think like somebody had shot me or something. But then I got over it. But the fact is, Lauren, people would now listeners would think, yeah, that must have got Dr. Taher to change. I did not. I did not. And I continued my erratic way of life diet, no exercise again. And it seems that I was leading this kind of a life without, the thing was, was that I was a doctor and was supposed to treat patients, not become a patient. All this while I was under control. Now I've lost control. So the idea was that that made me feel even worse. So I got into kind of a severe depression, and I would uh, sit for long hours looking into nothingness, my night sweats in the night, bad dreams. Oh boy, I used to get anger at pin drop. I would get
Really?
angry. And all this created more problems in my
Yeah, you
physical.
had a lot of health problems, didn't you?
Yes, so now it
What
creates.
other problems?
So what happens is it creates so much of health problems, and pneumonias and bronchitis would visit me every year. I started having anal fissures and hemorrhoids and the infamous diverticulitis, which incidentally perforated twice.
You had a perforated intestine or
Yes, twice.
bowel? Oof.
And so I was in the hospital for 3 weeks each time, and IV antibiotics, and then I would get out of the hospital having ulcers in my mouth and whatnot. So
Mm.
this continued, this kind of life continued 5 years till my stents failed. So I had to go in for an open heart surgery.
Do most people's stents fail
No,
eventually?
because there are two aspects to it. My lifestyle did not change, and I was on the cusp of where they were just coming out with medicated stents. Mine were not medicated. So
Oh, so they have medicated stents now?
yeah, now they're even going a step further. They have stents that can dissolve after your lifestyle change has taken place and medications have taken place, and they dissolve.
Okay, so we have to. Okay, so at 61, you had bypass surgery, and then you had made like a delusional post op promise to the nurses, right? You said, what did you say?
I said, mark my words. In a year's time, if all goes well, I am going to do a half marathon. I don't know why I said this. The nurses knew me, so they would sort of humor me. Some of them, yes, yes, Dr. Taylor, it's okay. You will do not a half marathon, you'll do one marathon. They were just kidding around. But I was serious that I have to do this. And now, even now, I'm thinking, why did I say that?
Hmm.
And I realized that I were only two choices left at that time, either to continue living this sad life long and ultimately death, or I have to make a change. So I opted for making a change so that I could do something positively with passion. And that was the thing that I wanted to do before they put me under.
Yeah, well, that's good. And so you did. P.S. You ran the half marathon, and then you ran full marathon. And so, tell us about that part of your life a little bit, where you started being an athlete.
Yeah, you see, I started off because first thing when I got up out of the anesthesia, on the third day I was on the treadmill. Number one. Number two,
Wow.
I did not take a single pain medication because, Lauren, this was far better than the mental torture of last 5 years. And
Yeah,
then,
you kind of felt like you had a little control maybe by
yeah, and
starting
I
to,
felt,
yeah.
felt the things are done. So
Uh-huh.
now I was on a complete recovery, mend myself totally. So I started, I was wondering, what should I do in physical? And I said, look, I promised the nurses, and this is a cheaper sport because I can have shorts and sneakers. So I took that and started to walk because I had not even done 1 kilometer long
Wow.
till the age of 61. So I started walking. Walking became jogging, jogging became running. And to me, this is what I've coined, that to me, running became a meditation in motion. I love the birds chirping, and a lot of people will tell you you always have a partner when you run, or two or three people. But I differ. I love running alone. That's why I went yesterday on my own to
Hmm.
the wooded area. It to me it is meditation. And when you're people, you talk, and so
Yeah.
I
And you don't listen to music or podcasts or anything? You just like to listen to nature?
I listen to music, but it's more like a Buddha's flute,
Okay.
Asian music, that type of. I put in my uh,
Okay.
and I listened to that. I did that, and then came 7 to 8 months later. My wife and I went to Nashville to do my first half marathon, and there I describe in my book, and it is so true. I'm not kidding you, that we went late at about uh, 10, 11 o'clock in the night to Nashville, and I couldn't sleep. 1 o'clock, 2 a.m. I said, my God, I have to do this major thing I've never done in my life. And then I got there was a dichotomy of fear and excitement. But then I got a dream. And my dream was that I was representing America in the Olympics. And I just got a medal, and they were putting the medal on me, and I was bursting out with the Star Spangled Banner, but all totally in the wrong tune. And, and I was wondering why people are not, because I did that and got up in the morning, little jittery. My wife was there to sort of, don't worry about it. Even if you don't do it, it's okay. Went over there and started running. And I realized there were hills. My little town, Gadsden in Alabama, did not have hills. And so there was a knot in my stomach. I mean, there are hills. What am I going to do? Then I said, Akil, forget it. Just enjoy. You're not enjoying yourself. You want to achieve something, forget the achievement, forget the end result. Look at the journey now on this half marathon. That helped me immensely.
Mm.
And
And you
therefore,
finished.
I finished it in 4 grueling hours, but I finished it. And there were people around on this thing as we ran. They would give you drinks. Some would give you gin and tonic. Now, I won't tell your audience whether I took that or not, but and we went and I did the thing and I finished it. But from then on, there was no stopping. No stopping. I ran my first full marathon, then a few more marathons, and then did a triathlon. Then I went with my son on his birthday to jump from an airplane. And then I went bungee jumping in New Zealand. And
Wow.
so I did all these with a fervor, which was making me happy. And like, I don't know, I tell people, when your pipes are cleared up now and you're doing great, why not take an advantage? To me, Lauren, it was a second chance at life, and I didn't want to miss out on anything.
That's so beautiful. And you talked about how you really changed before. I guess this is why your book is called Open Heart, because the double entendre of the surgery and opening your heart, because you said before the surgery you were arrogant and a party animal and obsessed with, money and so how did you change? Like how are you different now?
I have still a lot of skeletons in my closet, so your
Everybody does.
listeners do not feel that I am some kind of a saint. No, I'm not. Number one. Number two is that how did I change? You see, after doing after 7 months, I did a half marathon. Then from my surgery to 1 year, somebody invited me to climb Mount Kailash, which is the same as Mount Kilimanjaro, both are 19,000 plus feet. And I realized it was trek. I thought it was trekking. So I said, sure, I'll join you guys. And I realized that it was a pilgrimage, yatra. And so I tried to back out because I was not very religious in any sort of way, more not even spiritual at that moment. So I went but the Chinese, the people that they dislike if you've got an American passport, and because of the fight between China and India, so if you look like an Indian, they dislike you even more. So they would not let me go back. The whole party goes 30 people, or you go with them. So I said, look, if you can't beat them, join them. So I joined them and sat down in their what they call the pilgrim. They do the prayers in the morning. I sat cross-legged, did all those things, and I started enjoying. And so when we reached 19,000, he says circumvent the mountain. The mountain is far higher than 19, but you can't go higher than 19,000 plus feet.
Right. You're not allowed to climb that mountain,
No,
right?
no, you're allowed to up to 19,000 feet. So you can circumvent. So we circumvented, and then when we reached that 19,000, everybody was high-fiving and hugging and saying, great, we have made it. I did not want to do that. I wanted to be alone. So I walked by. Of course, I did my high fives, but I went and sat on a piece of rock. And for the first time, I really thought all these luxuries that I was after, expensive cars and watches and this and that, and could I do without all this? Because this 3 or 4 days of circumventing was pure basics. There was nothing. You cannot take a shower for 3 days, and you're climbing, and you've got a hill, and then you're protecting yourself, and it's extremely cold. And I asked myself, do you think that you would be able to survive? And something came over me which I cannot express in words, but something that you can only feel. I forgot about it. The going down was also tremendously difficult because of the hill at that time. I came down, settled down with my wife, and my wife said, did something happen over there? I thought that maybe I mean some skirmish or some. I said, no, no, nothing happened. He said, no, something has happened over there because you're mellowed down.
Mm.
So
She would
this
know.
is the power of spirituality, which I believe. So I'm not akin to religion. I don't mind people who are religious. I respect them for it. But to me, I can be as comfortable in a temple or a synagogue or mosque or you name it as anywhere else. But
That's
that's what I am at this point in time.
It's funny that your wife sensed that change in you. Can you give me like a couple of adjectives about yourself before this experience and a couple after?
Well, I was be all and know all kind of a person. Uh, it was my way was the right way. The rest of them uh, not following the highway, take the highway. I was under control. Control meaning that my staff would be so edgy when I would come around in the clinic. But now they sort of, after what happened, they love me. Even before that, they did not dislike me. But I was extremely strict. I mean, so I learned how to let a person go if the person is not good enough in a humane fashion. First, I would say, my God, you did this, you're fired. Now I said, look, listen, you have a lot of good qualities. You can do much more somewhere else. But this is not the right spot for you. Do you agree with me? And it makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
The person would
Yeah.
hug me and I let her go. So I believe that that kind of an arrogance, and as I write in my book, when the police were there and when I was in Birmingham, and to me, the attitude was that I was driving 5 miles or 10 miles over the speed limit. But the way I dealt with it, the police officer came and said, can I have your license? I said, you can have my license, but come on, okay, you want to charge me, fine me, fine me. That did not go well.
Yeah. They generally don't appreciate that.
No, no, and I didn't mean to sort of get him down. It was just that I was tired, and I said, okay, here. But you see, that is why was very open of my shortcomings in the book, because my editor told me you can't write all this. I said no. I have to let people know so that when people read this, they can realize their shortcomings and how to handle that.
and that people can change. So at this point you were still eating, you were eating kind of vegetarian and fish and so forth. You thought, you had cleaned up your eating. But then you went to Anahata Healing Arts Center.
Oh boy.
Uh, talk about that.
The Anahata Healing Center, I went around and looked online for something that was,
And where is this?
this is in Mysore in India.
Okay.
It is, so I was looking at a thing which did not have all the fancy things, just the bare minimum. So I found this place, and when I reached at about 8 o'clock in the night, and I didn't see anything. I mean, there was no place. So this person just takes me in a kind of a hut and says, "Okay, you come over here. This is your room, kind of a just a cot, a bed, and a basin and a place to shower. That's all. There was nothing there." And
Why were you going there? What was the purpose of this? What
I
do
had
they do there?
to experience what people felt, and what people who live that this kind of life, are they happy or not?
But what kind of place is this? Is it
This
a meditation place or
they do everything. What they do is, you go over there and help in everything that they do. So if you want to cook, you can do cooking. Then if you want to wash utensils, you wash utensils. You want to plant something, you can plant something. And all these were incorporated. And the idea was, they never told me that do this. Yes, doc, what would you like to do today? There are things. You can't be doing nothing. But that rest period we had in a hammock, we would just be there and lie. But rest of the time, we did things with the people. So we went into the community and we knocked at doors, and they were so gracious and they welcomed us. And being a doctor, people would say, "Look, my daughter has this swelling in this thing, and she's been told about thyroid." And then I would talk to them about that, and it was really good. And in the night, there were dogs barking, stray dogs. They were barking, and but it was soothing to me. Normally, if the dogs bark anywhere around here, I say, "Oh my God, that neighbor's dog is barking." But here, it was not like that. It was great. There was a school next door to this particular place, and we went there. Nature has a way to heal. Being out in the open, barefoot, and just walking around and doing things made such a big difference. Such a big
Mm.
difference.
And this is where you first encountered a whole food, plant-based diet, is that
No,
right?
no,
It's not?
no. I think I had done prior to that. What had happened was that because of my diverticulitis, I changed my diet. Had become better. I was eating better. I was exercising, meditation, yoga, all that I was doing. But I still had illnesses that would come, not as often, but they were still there, especially with this diverticulitis. So it would come up out of a, and then I would wonder why. What am I doing that is wrong? That is a time when I started reading and talking to my peers, talking to Dean Ornish, talking to Esselstyn, and all this, my colleagues. I talked to them, and I read papers, research papers, and that is a time because I want to uh, research on ways how to heal the body without solely relying on medicine or surgery.
What why did that occur to you at that? So diverticulitis is like an intestinal disease, is that right?
It's a large in the colon, your large
Okay.
intestine. That is where you have perforations. I mean, that you have
Okay.
diverticulitis pockets, and
Mhm.
they turn into perforations. So that was there. Plus, I would still get things like, bronchitis or sinus congestion. And I was wondering that if I'm doing everything right, this should not be that often now.
Right.
So that was a time when I realized that there's something here that I should be looking into. And that is when I realized the seven magnificent seven pillars. You know the Magnificent Seven, the movie.
Yes.
So
So, what are the magnificent seven pillars?
you see, the most important of this pillar is your nutrition. It is not heart disease that is killing people. It is nutrition that is causing heart disease and killing people. So nutrition is like your maestro, you're leading the band. But you need interconnection with others to connect to get the best outcomes. So if nutrition is your main thing, then exercise, that you have to do at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise uh, at least 5 days a week, and not just be that, then move around at 10,000 steps or whatever people do, because you can't be just sitting. Then you have sleep. I give talks on sleep. I'm going in September to Hilton Head. I did with you too. That
Yes, we did on PBNSG. I interviewed you about sleep, and actually, I've been trying to do better because you could tell us a little bit about sleep. You talked about the sleep cycles. I thought that was interesting. Can you just tell us briefly about
yeah,
why sleep is so important?
yeah. Sleep is very important because people think that sleep is the absence of being awake, which is not true. Your brain is functioning far more when you're asleep than when you're awake, because that is a time when your muscles being built, your thought processes, all that is being taken, the clarity of your mind, and a lot of different things happen at that time in your deep sleep. And there are two stages, a deep sleep and a dream sleep. The deep sleep has again got several, it's a 90 minutes cycle. In the 90 minutes, you have deep sleep and your dream sleep. So when you're starting to go off to sleep, as you unwind, and then you go into the deep sleep. And after a while, you get into the dream sleep. So early part of the night, more deep sleep, say 70 minutes and 20 minutes of dream sleep. Later part, when you're about to get up, that is the dream sleep takes over. That is the reason when you get up sometimes, oh my God, I was in a dream. Because that is when the dream, and 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 I've read an article that even people with problems of post-traumatic disorders, sometimes dreams can help them to overcome this. So that is one of the dream. And these are the two main components of sleep. And then you do have to understand that we are such a workaholic people. We say, okay, now it's time to stop working. Now is the time to eat my food. Now is the time to sleep. Let me go into bed and sleep. There's no unwinding.
Yeah.
So the unwinding process should take place for everybody. We- I give this example to people that, of course, I have not achieved it myself, but there is our Prime Minister in India, Narendra Modi. He just talked about it that within 1 minute, when he puts his head on the pillow, he goes off to sleep. So, what I tell people is that in 20 minutes, if you can't fall asleep, get out of that room. Do something else. Meditate, do yoga, do something else. Listen to great music. Then come back. So, unwinding is so very important that it's like when you go to the dining table, you don't really wait to get hungry. You eat. So, why should you be waiting to get sleep?
Right. And I mean, it's funny you talked about dreams because I'm thinking about your dream where you're about to run your half marathon and then you dream that you're representing America in the Olympics. So it kind of did help you, right?
It did help me to finish. I promise you that.
You're like, I can't let America down. I
Yeah,
have to finish.
so
Yeah. And I guess so much healing takes place during our sleep too, right? Our
absolutely,
butt.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Muscles,
S-
tendons, bones, a lot of things. Your depression that you have, clarity of the mind, so that you can solve this problem. Sleep is a wonder.
mhm. And so, okay, I interrupted you about your pillars. So, sleep, what else?
Sleep, then you come across stress. Everybody has stress. Every single person has stress, but you need how to handle stress. And I tell people that most of the times you have stress is when you have a death in the family, divorce, or debt when you owe money to people. So these are the factors that bring on a lot of stress. So before embarking on medication, I was just giving a talk on Saturday at a walk with the dog. So we give a 5-7 minutes talk. And I was telling people that, when you go on this prospect of stress and how to handle stress, you must realize that your meditation, your yoga, all these are far more important because they did a study in Duke University and they found out that depressed people, they took a group of depressed people and they got half of them who were on 16 weeks of exercise routine and the other half were on antidepressant like Zoloft or Paxil or what have you. And they found that the people in the exercise group did far better than the people in the Zoloft group. And number two, the relapse rate was far less than the other group. So
Mm.
this is something phenomenal that we are not looking at it, but we need to handle stress in a way, uh, meditation, which is so difficult for me. My wife goes into a trance and I am struggling. So that is I'm trying to,
Yeah. I
uh,
love meditation. I did it before I meditate before every guest just so
wow,
that I can connect. And I only did it for 7 minutes because that's all I had time for. But I try to meditate every day, at least 10, 15, 30 minutes, just depends. Sometimes, like I said, today was only 7 minutes, but I love meditating. It's so helpful to me, meditation and yoga.
yoga. Yoga, your
Mhm.
sun salutation is one thing that you require for stretching all your muscles. Every part of your body is being stretched.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
and then comes avoiding abusive substances. That is a fifth one. And all alcohol and cigarette smoking, everybody knows. One caveat over here that alcohol does no good for anybody. If you're drinking socially once in a way, I am not being judgmental. But if you're drinking because you think your HDL is going to go, good cholesterol is going to go high, all that, it's all hogwash. Am I supposed to say the word hogwash in this? Uh, I don't know.
Did you just ask me if you could say hogwash? Oh my gosh. You don't, yeah, apparently you've never listened to this. I say some bad words sometimes.
Badass mother, yeah. But, but this is true, and so then you have a robust support system.
Wait, let me go back 1 second. What about like marijuana gummies? A lot of people take those now to relax. What about those?
Yeah, I believe very strongly that Sanjay Gupta, who is a CNN doctor,
Hmm.
had once come around with this, that it should help people who are not being helped by any other means.
Okay.
So I am not against that if it
Okay.
is helping somebody and not causing any harm.
Okay.
And but my point is this: in this, my point is not only the street drugs, of course, but even prescription drugs
Hmm.
like your hydrocodone and all that. Once you're
Sure.
given, you're hooked on it. And finally, you have the support system, a
Yeah.
robust support system where you have the blue zones,
Yeah.
where they have
Yeah.
such great, and it's non-judgmental support system, whereby they're not judging you, but you're intermingling with these people. And that was the sixth one. And seventh one is what I have made up is, I hope I get it right now. Love lots, laugh aloud, live large. So that
That's what
is
you've been
what I
doing. Yeah, that's what you've been doing. You've been a good example. Let's just talk a little bit more about whole food plant based diet because I guess that's something that you and I share that how we conquered our heart disease. And so for those people who I think people who listen to this podcast with any regularity know about it, but if you're just tuning in for the first time, a whole food plant based diet is legumes, whole grains. Oh, tell us a little bit. Legumes, beans, peas,
First
lentils.
of all, let me tell you that people who turn into vegans or whole food plant based are three types of people. One is they do it for environmental reason. Number two is they do it for animal rights. And third, they do it for health. My wife and daughter both did it for animal rights 40 years back. I did not. And I turned because of health reasons. Now, meat, eggs, and dairy are your main components that are against your health. Now, what should you be eating? Now, Dr. Esselstyn, is a very strict person that you have to do a whole food plant based, no salt, oil, or sugar. Dr. Dean Ornish on the other spectrum says, look, let people change for the better, even if they're changing slowly. So give up one thing at a time, see how good you feel. And so that is what I did in my life. Is at first I gave up dairy and I realized immediately one thing is there. If you want to advise somebody to give up something of their meat, eggs, and dairy, tell them to give up dairy first. Because the results are imminent and very soon. So that's what I did. Then I slowly gave up meat, but I was still eating fish. But coming to your point, I asked people to be flexitarians first. Cut back on meat, eggs, and dairy, and introduce more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, your legumes. All this should be involved. That is where your protein is coming from. You don't require animal protein. Remind me, I've got a thing to talk about animal protein too. But anyway, that was your animal protein. Number three is that you take pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds as your snack. So when you introduce this vegetables, I play a game with my patients sometimes. Tell me from A to Z all the alphabets, all the fruits and vegetables, and they will go asparagus and beef or bok choy or broccoli, and then we have a game. So that is what you should be doing. Now, what you should not be doing when you're becoming a flexitarian and slowly changing is that you should avoid sugar to a large extent, because sugar is one of the things. You take 13 teaspoonful of sugar is what an average American takes.
Mm,
Salt, number two, hidden salt. If you are an outdoor person eating in restaurants, you're getting a lot of hidden salt. 3.5 grams, when the American Heart Association says 1.5. I say even less. Then processed food and ultra processed food. I mean, I see so many mothers, even my own daughter in the beginning, that giving my grandson, oh, but this is a thin layer of turkey. It has got no fat. No, my dear, this is processed. You can't make that turkey ultra processed foods. And then, to me, milk is it is liquid meat.
yes. Jane Velez Mitchell was on. She said that liquid meat.
A cup of 2% milk is has the same saturated fat and cholesterol as an ounce of meat. So
Mm,
when you have that, and number three is that we don't read labels. Even in my own family, they don't know how to read the labels. You may be shocked that they will say, okay, 2 grams of fat, but there are 16 servings in that.
right.
So you're thinking 2 grams and you're taking half that can and putting it on your sandwich or whatever. So
Yeah.
idea is to read the labels, and sometimes I can't even pronounce the words.
Yeah.
And your diet.
I liked how you talked about dairy in your book, that you said we're really the only species who, first of all, has dairy after we're weaned, and we drink the milk of other animals, species. We're the only ones who do that. That's crazy when you think about it like that.
Crazy, and they've done research, and the science has proved that you have these cows which are tortured by giving them
Yes.
estrogen, because you cannot get milk unless the cow is pregnant. Then we have the audacity to steal that milk and use it in our cereal and coffee. And then we have the greater audacity to take that calf and give it to the restaurants to be used as veal.
I know.
This is
And
horrendous.
the and anybody who's a parent, you can just picture that mama cow crying for her baby cow.
Yes,
They
yes,
and the babies cry for their mother. It's horrific. Dairy is the most cruel. It's horrible.
absolutely. And then what they do is they put this huge steel things in the udders to get the milk out, and that lacerates their udders. So that
Mm,
is why the antibiotics what humans use is far less than what it has been used on animals.
yeah.
Similarly, animal farming, most of the food is gone to the animals. So that is your reason why. I think who was it philosopher who said that as long as you eat meat, uh, you will not. There will always be wars. Is-
Yes.
Who is that?
Was it Pythagoras or there
Pythagoras.
was
Pythagoras.
yeah.
You're right. You're right. You're right. He said that as long as you have keep on, there will always be war amongst people if you keep on eating meat. So on
Yeah.
his table, there was no meat allowed.
Yeah. A lot of great thinkers. I think Victoria Moran on her website has all the great thinkers who have been vegan and vegetarian and quotes from them.
You should ask me.
Um
You have to put your name and my name there.
yeah, oh yeah, we're the great thinker. Maybe you. I don't know. I've never been called a great thinker, but thank you. Um, so, just how can we slow down the aging process by what we're eating? How does that?
The thing is, diet is more important than exercise, number one. Food feeds disease or it fights disease. It is not genetics, bad genetics that run in the family. It is your food, number one. So, aging well is to be strong in your body, sharp in your mind, and take things with an open heart.
Mm,
Do things with real passion and purpose should be there and with positivity. If you follow these things with the six pillars of seven magnificent pillars that I've talked about, you're a winner.
yeah.
I am doing now. I don't know. I am. Uh, I've used my body in a lot of different ways. So, what the end result of death, I don't know when, but what I'm leading a life is completely what I want to do. This is a life that I should have lived before when I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
So,
Just the it's just a couple of times I've met you. I can't believe I can't ever picture you being um not nice or you just seem so lovely and open that it does I do feel like eating this way does open you up a lot because I think you and I both came to eating this way because of health, but then it opens you up to see the cruelty to the animals and to be kinder to other people. It just really does change everything, I believe.
and my main thing is that this is again what I tell people that this is my thing. Adventure may hurt you, but monotony will kill you.
Mm,
So there is a meaning in this because you are using adventure, not climbing mountains or running this thing. What I am using that as doing something outside your comfort zone.
yeah.
Because then monotony settles in when you're doing the same thing again and again and again and again. So get out of your comfort zone. Do gardening, do cooking, play a game of chess, do like my wife has taken up mahjong. And so why not? That challenges you. So that is it. And my one other last thing to people is remember, folks, adversity can be your best friend or your worst enemy. After my 5 years that I was in depressed mode. Adversity, when I found out that I had blockages, was my worst friend. After the heart surgery, I was, like, I'm going in for surgery. They're going to do anesthesia. What happened the last time? Okay. But it became my best friend.
Changed your life.
That is what I'm saying.
That's beautiful. And how old are you now?
I'm 77.
Look at you. Amazing.
Seven.
How much weight did you lose when you
I
started
was
eating this way?
never overweight.
You weren't.
No, in terms of the Western listing of BMI, body mass
Mm,
index, I was
you were never overweight.
never overweight. But did I carry fat? Yes. Visceral obesity.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why you will see in a lot of Indians who are vegan, junk food vegans,
Uh-huh.
they are not BMIs 21, 22.
And visceral fat is around your middle. Is that right? Around your organs?
Yeah, around your organs, your liver, your heart, all this fat, which is directly
Mm,
related to heart disease.
mm.
So I was carrying like a kangaroo carrying a
So
pup.
you Okay, and then lastly, what's your best piece of advice overall? That do you ever the best piece of advice you've ever received or that you just want to give?
The best piece of advice I've received, I would follow this thing what I just said, that to live life to the fullest. Because, and number two is, age should not be a limiting factor in changing your lifestyle. People have done it far younger, people have done it older than I am. But that should not be a factor, because most of them say, oh, now I'm old. It's okay if I don't do this. No, 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 it's not okay. That reaching 100 or 99 or 90 is man made. I can tell you the people that I respect a lot is T. Collins and Esselstyn, both in the 90s. And
Yes.
Esselstyn was a Olympic gold medalist.
Yes.
So
For rowing.
yeah, so you imagine.
Yes.
So those are
Oh
my
gosh.
heroes. And my other hero is in National Health Association, Mark
Mark Huberman.
Huberman. Imagine
He's amazing.
he's born as a vegan, as a plant.
Yes. Yeah, how old is he? He's probably in his
He's roughly same age as I am, a few years younger, 73.
and he's yes, you're right. His father was from his father, I think they called it national or they called it hygienics or something, but it was vegan.
Correct.
And he was born into a vegan world. And so he's just been healthy from the start, a whole food plant
So
based.
there are very few
Yeah.
people you will find like that, because this was
Yes.
years back,
Yes.
1948 and 1950s and
Right.
52. So you can't find very many people who are like that.
Hygiene. They called it just natural hygiene. That's what they called it. Yeah. Well, Dr. Taher, thank you so much for talking to us today and sharing your beautiful story. I hope that everybody gets your book, Open Heart.
Great. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. And lovely. All the best. Hope your week goes as well as you want it to be.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, friend. From my heart to yours, be well until we meet again.